Alrighty.
Hello, Gear Up students. Welcome to our presentation. This is Financial Aid 101. My name is Miss Bree. I'm with Rochester, New York, Gear Up. And I have here with me Miss Shamira from St. John's University with their Gear Up program.
Hello, everyone.
So let's get right into it. So I'll be presenting FAFSA information, and Ms. Shamira will be handling more of the state aid. So without further ado, let's start the presentation. Okay. So this is Financial Aid, your guide to FAFSA.
And Ms. Bree, I'm not sure if you're seeing it's something in the middle of it. It looks like it's the logo or maybe a piece of the background. I'm not sure if you're seeing the
Let me see. Quick edit. Okay, all set. Back to it. So what is FAFSA? So FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and this can be filled out anytime after October 1st for the upcoming fall semester, and it closes on June 30th as the latest deadline. So make sure in the FAFSA you add all schools that you're applying to on the FAFSA application, but we'll touch more on this later. Determining how much aid you receive. So if a family's taxes are not yet filled out, you can use estimated numbers from the previous tax year. This, of course, comes from W-2 forms, which you use to file income taxes, to fill out the FAFSA. So on the FAFSA, it generates a number called the estimated family contribution. And this is an estimate of how much the government thinks your family can contribute to your education. So through FAFSA, once you have your estimated family contribution plus the info you input into the FAFSA application, it generates something called a SAR, or Student Aid Report. And this you get sent to up to 10 schools at a time. So if you are applying to more than 10 schools, you're going to want to send in to those initial 10 schools, wait for it to be processed, and then go back into your FAFSA application and change some of the schools and then submit to the next schools. So make sure you pay attention to financial aid deadlines of an institution just to make sure you're getting everything in on time and that there's no issues with processing your financial aid. So FAFSA and immigration. So here I have laid out a list of students who are eligible versus students who are not eligible for FAFSA aid. So those who are eligible would be U.S. nationals, which includes natives of American Samoa or Swains Islands, U.S. permanent residents, also known as green card status, has an arrival departure record from U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services. So this includes refugees, asylum granted, Cuban Haitian entrants, conditional entrants, as well as parolees. If you or a parent hold T non-immigrant status, you are a battered immigrant qualified alien, a citizen of the Federated States of Micronesia, the Republic of Marshall Islands, or the Republic of Palau. However, those students will only qualify for certain federal aid, like qualifying for work study. So students who are not eligible include DACA status students. Permanent resident status has expired. You have only a notice of approval to apply for permanent residence. You are in the U.S. on an F1 or F2 non-immigrant student visa, or on a J1 or J2 non-immigrant exchange visitor visa, or you hold a G series visa. So those students will be not eligible for federal aid. However, it would be encouraged that you look for institutional aid like scholarships, and also other merit-based scholarships. So on here, I have laid out the steps and categories in filling out a FAFSA. So we have our account setup, which includes creating a student login, and this requires a social security number, student demographics, school selection, dependency status, parent demographics, parent financial information, student financial information, and sign and submit. But all these steps we're going to see while we do our FAFSA practice walkthrough. So let's get right into that. So on here, I have a FAFSA demo. This is demoing a student who is a returning student. So this would be like reapplying for FAFSA for your sophomore year and so on. So this student's name is Harvey Last Namer App. So he's going to be our example for the 2021 to 2022 school year. So we are going to hit start over so you can see the process. So let's do FAFSA renewal. So we'll create a save key, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here we have laid out some of our student information. So this includes, let me just stop this real quick. So this includes social security number, first name, middle initial, last name, date of birth, email addresses, and telephone number. Permanent address and state. State of legal residence. This is for like state surveying purposes. And while we're going through this, I'm going to have Miss Shamira actually start her presentation and return back to this in a second. Let me see, stop share screen. Oh, Miss Shamira, you're on mute. There you go.
Look, I was talking really hard. So hello, Ms. Bree. I'll go ahead and take it from here. So as Ms. Bree stated earlier, I am Ms. Shamira Freeman. I am the site coordinator with the St. John's University NY Gear Up program. And as you all will realize with the Financial Aid 101, we are presenting various information. Ms. Bree is focusing on the federal aspect, and I will be kind of more so talking to you all about the state aspect of financial aid. Okay, so let's get started. Can everyone see? Ms. Bree, can you see the presentation? All right. Awesome, awesome. So financing your college education. It all starts with FAFSA. As Ms. Bree has gone through, and you will see from the demo site and even from experience for most of you all, you have to remember your username and password, okay? And even that save key information, it's going to be very important. Every single year you are a college student. Every October 1, you are going to be responsible for completing your FAFSA, okay? And you also need to be sure that you are submitting your state aid applications too. There is federal aid for students and there is state aid for students, okay? And so just a few key terms that we like to go over before we jump, deeper into presentations. Financial aid, this is the money that is going to help you pay for college or career schools. There is financial need, which this is called need-based financial aid. And then there is merit-based financial aid, and this is typically for things like athletic ability and academic standing. You have cost of attendance. For every student, the cost of attendance is going to vary, but this is an estimate of your tuition and fees, room and board, books, and other supplies. Again, some students decide that they aren't dorming. So again, that is a cost that would not go toward your attendance. However, for a student who is deciding to dorm, they will have to cover room and board and some of these other supplies. And this all makes up the cost of attendance. How much does it cost for you to actually attend that school? There are grants and scholarships. This is money that you do not have to pay back. And typically we refer to this as gift aid. You have student loans. We'll end up talking about student loans at a later date, but this is the money that you do have to repay back. It's a loan. Someone's loaning it to you, okay? And this is typically under the self-help category. There is also work study programs. These programs are funded by the federal government, okay? And so when you're completing the FAFSA, they typically ask you, are you interested in work study? Yes, you are, okay? Because for most of us, we may have to work while we also study. And getting a work study position, it allows you to do both at the same time. And they're going to be considerate of your school schedule and your school classes, okay? Through all of this, through all of your financial applications, they are trying to figure out what is your EFC. This is your expected family contribution. This is the amount of money your family is expected to contribute to your college education. And they end up mailing you or emailing you, or you'll have access via the online system to your financial award letter. This is pretty much going to explain all of the monetary assistance a school is going to offer you in order for you to afford your college education, okay? And typically you start receiving these financial offers after you receive your acceptance letter. So you may be thinking, or you already know, for most of you students who are first year college students, why do you need financial aid? The purpose of financial aid is to ensure that each student has sufficient resources to attend college. The average student, Miss Shamir was one of them. I did not have a college fund to access, okay? And so I needed access to financial aid to help cover the cost of higher education for me. And so without some form of financial aid, some students won't be able to attend school. But thankfully, we have lovely FAFSA and we have TAP as well, okay? And so completing your financial aid application, that's why you're submitting all of your personal information, how much money you're making, income tax, bank statements. This is going to help the funding source actually determine how much your family is expected to pay for your college education, okay? So for some people, they have a really low family contribution. So my family income is really low, so they're not expected to contribute as much to my college education. So the difference between my family's contribution and the cost of attendance for the actual institution I'm attending. So as you know, going to a 4-year school is going to be different than going to a 2-year school versus a technical school. But all of these things, your cost of attendance minus your family contribution, this is how they determine what your financial aid or financial need is in order for you to attend college. So the types of financial aid, again, you have FAFSA. That is your federal, that is the money that you are receiving for college from the federal government. You also have your state aid, things like TAP, and we'll go over those here shortly. But this is New York State's pot of money toward New York State residences go toward higher education. There are also private scholarships. So you may have heard of like the Coca-Cola scholarship, for example, and there are a ton of different private scholarships. And there are also institutionalized scholarships and aid. And so this is the amount of money that a school has set aside for students in order for them to attend college. And most of the time, those are in the forms of scholarships and or grants, okay? Let's talk a little more about New York State's aid or financial aid for students. So before you even talk about how can you access New York State's pot of money, you have to complete the FAFSA, okay? So everything you do related to financial aid is going to all start with the FAFSA. Again, private scholarships will be just a little different because they're requesting different information, but FAFSA from the federal government or the state government, you have to have a social security number. You're required to submit income and tax information for your legal parent and or guardian. You have to submit this information for yourself if you're working and you make over a certain amount of money. And you also are required to submit your account statements. Now, as I mentioned, New York State and the federal government has a pot of money set aside for students who have a social security number. For students who do not have a social security number, we have the DREAM Act in New York State. And we'll talk about this more in details a little later. But students who do not have a social security number, they can apply for the DREAM Act, okay? So what is the DREAM Act? The DREAM Act is New York State's pot of money toward undocumented students in order to access New York State's administered grants and scholarships in order to support their higher education, okay? And so typically you will qualify for the DREAM Act if you have a U visa, a T visa, TPS status, DACA status, or no immigration status at all, okay? Keep in mind when you are applying for the DREAM Act, when you are applying for even some of those institutionalized and private scholarships, in order for them to give you the money, you're going to need to do a little something, okay? So you have to make sure that you meet the criteria in order to be awarded any financial aid of any sort. And based on the source, the funding source, that will determine what the criteria is that you need to meet in order to receive access to that money. And so again, the DREAM Act allows students with no immigration status at all or those other statuses, it allows them to access the money toward the Excelsior Scholarship, TAP, which stands for Tuition Assistance Program, just as well as other state administered scholarship programs, okay? So TAP, you might not have known that, but TAP stands for the Tuition Assistance Program, okay? So TAP is, again, the state aid that you will receive from the state of New York to cover your college expenses. One of the primary things is students have to be New York State residents and they have to attend a New York State school. So you can't live in New York and say, I'm taking this money and going to Tennessee, which is, you may be wondering where that accent is from, Tennessee. You can't do that. In order to receive TAP or New York State funds, you have to attend a New York State school. And typically, TAP provides up to $5,165 per year. And again, that is based on attending a four-year university, but there are different terms and requirements and dollar amounts associated with attending a two-year university. Students can link directly to the TAP application from the FAFSA submission page. So as you will see over here, it asks you, I'm sorry, where is it at? It asks you right here, start your application. You can start your state application to apply for your New York State-based aid directly from the confirmation page on FAFSA. Now, if for whatever reason, and I'm not going to act like we've actually seen FAFSA cutting up, guys. We know technology can be a little wish-washy during this time. I've actually worked with a student and we've tried to link directly to TAP, but for some reason, it wouldn't allow us to. That's fine. If you end up exiting the FAFSA application or confirmation page before you actually press that you want to start your TAP application, you just have to wait 3 days and HESC will automatically receive your information from FAFSA, and then HESC will send you information about how to submit their TAP application, okay? In order for you to submit or complete the TAP application, you have to create a username and a PIN with HESC. HESC is the Higher Education Services Corporation. They are kind of like the big brothers behind the scene doing all the work, but these are the people that are actually going to be managing your account and determining how much money you actually receive. And again, there are different requirements associated with TAP, just as there is with the DREAM Act, just as well as it is with FAFSA. So no matter what, you again want to make sure that you are meeting those eligibility requirements in order to get access to these different forms of financial aid. All right. So, but that's not all. So when we hear TAP, we typically focus on the tuition assistance program, but there are other New York State scholarships and awards. For example, you have the Excelsior Scholarship. This covers tuition for students who attend a SUNY or CUNY school, and families that earn less than $125,000 a year, they're eligible for this scholarship. You have the Enhanced Tuition Award. This is for students attending private schools, okay? And it's typically a maximum of $3,000, but it does require some work on the private colleges end. And so again, that's why it's really important to be mindful of the eligibility requirements and ensure that you're meeting whatever those are so that you can keep getting your money, okay? And so you also have the New York State Part-Time Scholarship Award. This is a scholarship for students who attend a community college, either in the CUNY or SUNY system, but those students must maintain part-time status and they have to maintain a 2.0 GPA. And typically, students who receive this award will receive about $1,500 per semester for up to 2 years, which is the time it typically takes to complete an associate's degree. But that's not all, guys. There are a ton of other different scholarships that New York State has specific to students. If you would like this information, we can definitely a little later on copy the link and maybe try to send it out to you all if you would like more information. But hopefully you are grabbing all of the money on the table, okay? So what do you do if you need more financial aid? For some of us, the financial aid packages just will not cover our entire college cost or expenses, especially if we're going to dorm or things of the sort. So there are different ways that you can close that gap, but don't be dissuaded from attending the school of your choice. Don't let the ticket associated with college keep you from actually attending college, okay? You can, as we mentioned earlier, you can apply for institutional scholarships. Aside from all of the deadlines associated with the federal government, with the state government, you also can work with your institution of higher education and figure out what scholarships and gift aid they have available for students pursuing a degree. You can, in a very rare case, you can appeal your financial aid package, but you're going to want to make sure that you have all of your proof, okay? Don't appeal it just because it don't sound right. You want to make sure that you can say, no, my parents' income has changed. This has changed, whatever the case may be. But you can appeal your financial aid package. If you were deciding to live on campus, maybe that means in COVID, I ain't gonna lie, I know a lot of kids that wanted to live on campus so they could feel grown, but due to COVID, they are now, living at home. You can also work part-time, as many of you all are. There's nothing wrong with grinding. And when you work hard, it pays off, guys. You can also consider a less expensive school if it absolutely comes down to that. And you can also consider private and last minute scholarships, okay? And so just a few search engines that you all can go to if you are in need of additional scholarships for your college education. You have College Board's Big Future, you have FastWeb, you have scholarships.com, and you have Career One Stop scholarships, okay? You always want to make sure that you're being mindful and you're going to a reputable scholarship search engine because you don't want to get scammed, okay? So be mindful of wherever you're entering in your personal information. FAFSA is the federal government. TAP is New York State's government. Once you get into individualized and private scholarships, you want to be careful. But the ones that we've listed here today are in fact reputable sites, and they're not requiring you to pay or enter in any personal information in order to access those scholarships. But you can get some additional money, okay? And so what are your key takeaways? Complete the FAFSA as soon as possible, okay? FAFSA opens up on October 1st. I always like to tell my students, think of FAFSA like a buffet, okay? If the buffet doors open at 7 p.m. and you are in line at 6:59 for doors to open at 7 p.m., your options are going to be endless because you're there, they just open, food's fresh, your pickings you have a variety of pickings. Now, you don't go at 7, you VIP, you get there at like 9 p.m. You can imagine that some of the foods are going to be picked over, things aren't as fresh, things may have run out. Think of FAFSA just like that. If you get to the party sooner, you'll get to access more financial aid and more monies available. When you complete your FAFSA, again, the deadline for FAFSA is June 30th. So if it starts on October 1st, but it doesn't end until June 30th, that's a long buffet. So you want to make sure that you are first come so that you can be first served. The schools that you're interested in attending, look at the graduation rate. When you think about financial aid, you want to think about the financial aid for each year that you're going to be attending school. If you're at a school whose graduation rate is really, really low for whatever reason, you have to make sure that you break the mold. Make sure that you graduate in 4 years. Because again, sometimes you don't graduate in 4 years, and that's okay. But you want to remember that sometimes the eligibility requirements are that after year 5, you no longer can have access to this money. So then if you are a 6-year senior, like some of my lovely friends were, you've got to work really hard in order to pay your college tuition, okay? And again, remember, whenever you are receiving any scholarships or grants, you want to make sure that you are looking into the eligibility requirements, and you want to make sure that you are staying in satisfactory academic progress. So make sure you are in good standings with your university. and the issuing funder, okay? And again, we cannot reiterate it enough. You got to do FAFSA and TAP every year, okay? It's a headache, we know. However, it's free money. So in order to get free money, you got to do a little work, okay? And so you want to be sure that you are completing it each year. For more information, for more workshops, if you have any questions, if you need any assistance, completing FAFSA, completing TAP, completing additional scholarship essays, anything of the sort, keep your college mentor and your Gear Up mentors and counselors in mind. We are here to help you. We are here to assist you all. You know, our clock is dwindling on down, and soon our services will be wrapping on up. So we are begging you, Miss Shamira, Miss Bree, take advantage of the services that we are offering. Stay in touch, stay engaged, but more importantly, stay safe during this time and keep your spirits up. You never imagined being a first year college student, you know, going through COVID. However, here we are. This is our reality. So I want you all to make the best of it and to ensure that you are doing everything that you need to do in order to be successful. And it all starts with FAFSA. But again, there are other terms in order for you all to be successful. So take advantage of us. We're here to help you. We can help you with resumes, whatever it is that you may need. But we got your back. But let us know when and if you need us, and we can take care of that. So yeah, thank you for your time. Again, if there's any questions, you can drop them in the chat. You can DM them. You can definitely feel free to reach out to us via email, whatever the case may be. But we are here to help and assist you all with the college and career readiness process so you can be successful. That's all I got, Ms. Bree.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ms. Shamira, for jumping in with that great informative presentation. But let's get back to the fill along. So, hop back on here. Sorry about that, folks. Can everybody see my screen? Okay. So, on this part, we've got high school completion. So, of course, they just want to make sure that you've graduated high school before applying for FAFSA. When you expect to have your first bachelor's degree, so they'll ask you if the year you're applying, you'll have your first bachelor's degree. So you just answer that yes or no. What your grade level will be. For most of you, that'll be second year sophomore. And are you interested in being considered for work study? Now, this is an important question because if you hit no, the school will not consider you at all later on down the road for work study. So if say you get back to the institution and you're like, oh, I really need a work study job, you won't be able to apply for that. So if you're unsure, just make sure you hit don't know. So next, male or female, this student is a male. Are you registered with the selective service system? No. Driver's license number, this part is of course optional. You can go ahead and enter that information if you would like, or you also don't have to. Here we have for foster youth, no. And then here it has high school completed by parent 1 or parent 2. This also includes guardians. You can just hit other unknown if you'd like, but this is purely for survey and statistical information. Have you ever received federal student aid? For most of you, that is probably a yes. So on here, we have the name of the high school we attended, which is great. But here's where we add the colleges that we're applying to. So for an example for today, I'm just going to use New York State. I'm going to use Brockport. And I'm going to use SUNY Brockport as our school example. So here you'll just type in the name of the school and the state, and then you could do the search. However, each school has like a federal code. So if you know the code, you can go ahead and enter that directly. But if not, your school should pop up in the school search. You'll just click the checkbox and hit add the school. If you need to add more schools, then you could do so on that part, but that completes the student demographics section. So next we have school selection. So I selected SUNY Brockport, living on campus. And that completes that part. So now we have dependency status. Most of you are probably single, as in not married or not separated or divorced. And this is for your purpose, not for your parents. This is for your status. So if you have any children, just go ahead and hit yes. And if you have any children who are dependents, you would also hit yes. So all of these, I'm going to click none of the above. I was not self-supporting. I lived with my parents. So in that case, I would say no. So for this, I'll say I will provide information about my parents, which is what most of you will need to include to get that estimated family contribution like we talked about earlier. So here, the status of my parents is married or remarried. They asked when your parents got married. Here, your parents will provide their social security number, first name, last name, date of birth, and parent email address. But for for the purpose of this, I'll say that I can't provide my parent information right now. But all it will ask for in your parent demographics will be just your parents' basic information and how much money they made from their W-2s coming up. So that is my dependency status. Let's see if it will let me continue. One minute, folks. Let's see. 9, 6, 7, 2, 6. Okay, so it is not letting me fill out parent financials or move forward, but essentially what it would next ask for is your parents' financial information. So this would include just the certain lines that are on their W-2 forms, which the FAFSA would specify. Then later we would go through for student financials. So if you made a significant amount of money as a student working, you would provide those financials also from your W-2s. Then you would go ahead and sign and submit, and it would just confirm. So that would be the end of the FAFSA process. I don't have anything else to add, but I do want to pop back on, and I just want to give a big thanks and shout out to Miss Shamira from St. John's University Gear Up program. Thank you so much for your time. To everybody who was able to tune in and those who will tune in later, thank you so much for watching this video, and we hope that it was informative and helpful to you.
Yes, thank you all so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.